Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Shonen Dump Podcast. My name is Nick, and I'm joined by my co-host and good friend, Bobby.
What is up, people?
So, usual affair, we're covering some manga. One Piece is back, which is fantastic news, but we got a few series on break, which is Jujutsu Kaisen, some of the monthlies, that kind of stuff. This week, we're going to be starting with Sakamoto Days. When I saw the first page, the color page we got, I thought we were gonna deal with these guys again.
Oh yeah, I thought something similar. I will say I was preparing because I was like, all right, let me look at this page. Let me look at the names that they label these characters for.
But it's just a school life episode, which is good. We learned that the invisible suit guy is kind of a big deal. He invented that tech all on his own, which is
yeah, you impressed a bunch of people.
Mm-hmm. I mean, other than that, the only thing we see is the assassination class and the girl. I forget her name. Akira, I think her name was.
Yeah,
we see Akira in there, kind of struggling, kind of nervous because none of her friends are there. But Shin shows up just in time,
looking for the database.
Mm-hmm. He owns the teacher, but turns out just a teaching assistant. So the real teacher walks up and she's like, you want to know about the database? That's, I guess, where we're leaving off.
I thought it was pretty funny. It was pretty funny because I was just like, oh, wow, that's the one way to hide your, what was it, hide your, killing intent or whatever it was? Your aggression, hiding your aggression is to just not be the person that you thought you were.
The teaching assistant just walking up to Shin with a gun was very funny.
Yeah.
And he just dodges it because he can read minds. But, imagine somebody else trying that and not being able to see that coming. That's a little extreme. You know, murdering somebody. I guess it is an assassination course, but he's still a student, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he's a student. He shouldn't be there probably to begin with. He shouldn't have to be there. He was already pretty accomplished before he even decided. He's here for an ulterior motive, so.
Right. I no problem with this chapter. I feel like the pace of this story slowed down to a crawl.
Yeah, they gave us a time limit before of Sakamoto's disguise only lasts X amount of time.
Yeah.
But they're cheating it by showing the characters that are not Sakamoto now. So I guess technically we could just assume that these things are happening concurrently with what we were reading in the previous chapters. So
yeah, probably. But it's still kind of stinky.
Yeah, they kind of lead you on a little bit with how the expectation for how long this will be, and it's just a little, it's slowing down a bit. Which honestly, personally, it's not I hated this chapter. I think it's fine. So
yeah, literally nothing wrong with it. Just I don't know. I feel like not a lot happened in those 20 pages. So
yeah, I mean, it's not a lot that is resolving anything more. So they kind of, in a way, almost make it more complicated of a situation.
Yeah,
it's they're looking for the database. They explain oh, the database is pretty much impossible to try and find because it might as well just be a flash drive. You don't know, so you just have to find people who do know. So it's we're just waving our way in, trying to figure out an angle to resolve the plot.
One Piece.
This was a pretty big chapter for the lore.
Yeah, and also just Green Bull Fukurokuju is not what we were expecting.
Yeah, he's definitely, well, let's just put it bluntly, right? He's discriminatory. You could almost say racist.
He's also just ready to just kill people.
He's just messing people up.
But Yamato shows up. He just destroys freaking the admiral. Momonosuke shows up and absolutely destroys nothing because he sucks. But he tries to. And I don't know. They're protecting their land. I think it's cute. However, I don't think that this can end in a let's beat the admiral kind of thing. You know what I mean? I feel like they have to lose here, right? that would just kind of make him like a non-threat if people that Luffy could easily beat take him out. Also, the fact that Yamato is here. I'm imagining like a Straw Hat escape, right?
Yeah, right.
If they're protecting Wano from this guy, how can they go with the crew?
I think that's what Momonosuke might be hinting at when he's like telling Yamato, "You shouldn't fight." I think Momonosuke might actually be trying to hint at, okay, Yamato, you need to leave so you can regroup with the Straw Hats and get out of here, because he knows that they're all extremely weakened from the fight with Kaido.
I see.
That's what I would, I'm not sure.
That makes
if
sense.
I'm wrong, I would be wrong, but
That
that's what
makes
I'm
sense.
assuming, because it seems like Momonosuke is trying to like try to deal with this on his own somehow and have everyone else do something else. Like, it's just the most logical thing to me is if the Straw Hats just got off of fighting Kaido, they're not at full power. Are they really ready to deal with an admiral at this point in time? And I'm not sure. So
Cutting away from Wano for a minute, we see Red Hair Shanks' crew.
yeah, we haven't seen these guys in a hot minute.
We get to see my favorite character, Lucky Roo. And we get to see Usopp's dad, who doesn't want to see Usopp because he's not ready, I guess. Very similar in personality, which is very funny.
Yeah.
And Shanks has no interest in seeing Luffy. We get a little flashback of him remembering the good times, and he's like, yeah, no, I don't want to see Luffy right now. Because freaking Bartolomeo.
Oh, yeah.
An ally of Luffy, Bartolomeo, went and freaking burned down Shanks's flags in an area he was protecting and replaced them with Luffy's. Which...
Absolute goon behavior.
Shanks and Luffy are technically allies in a sense that they are friends and they like each other.
Right.
However, that's not like public knowledge, I don't think. So Bartolomeo basically is like, we're going to war with this admiral. Not admiral, warlord, or we're going to war with this emperor. And doesn't realize that now he's basically made their relationship much more complicated. Luffy's not going to care at all. Luffy's gonna see that and be like, who cares? Like, we're both nice guys. But Shanks is like, I have a duty to the people I'm protecting to not just let that slide. So now there's gonna be conflict. Thanks, Bartolomeo.
Yeah. Literally, they have no way. Luffy has no way of knowing also that Bart is out here trying to like conquer things in his name either. So it's just like,
yeah. What's even funnier is the fact that like Luffy didn't even want him as like part of the crew anyway. He was like, no way, I don't want an extended fleet, and they're just like, well, we're gonna do it anyway. And now they're going out and conquering things in his name. So it's not even like Luffy gave the okay on any of this.
It's almost like the fake Straw Hats, but like again,
freaking Bartolomeo. But that little section ends with Shanks and Beckman getting together and drinking some sake. And Shanks saying, I think it's time we make our move. Let's claim the One Piece. That's not what I was expecting. I thought Shanks wouldn't care about the One Piece.
You would think so, right? We've always thought, like, okay, so Buggy and Shanks should know. They've been, like, they haven't seen the One Piece for themselves. But they probably should know, like, generally, what is the One Piece? Because, the crew saw the One Piece. And so it's just always been our assumption that it's something that he's not interested in. But it seems like he was just waiting for the right time now.
It also seems like maybe if they didn't tell him, that's like the most annoying thing that could have ever happened. Let's say you get sick on the crew, or you're staying with a friend who's sick because you don't want them to feel left out. Like Buggy and Shanks' situation. And your crew goes out and does something really cool, and they come back and they're like, yeah, we're not going to tell you. That's really annoying. if they don't know. I don't think that's the case. He probably knows what it is. But it's crazy that I always thought like Blackbeard would be the one gunning for it in the end and be him and Luffy. I did not picture Shanks to also be coming in.
Yeah.
The exact same thing. So
it just further makes you question, what is the One Piece that Shanks needs to time specifically when he decides to go get it? Like, what could it possibly be?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, he has to have some sort of knowledge, right? So he has to know. Like, if he's deciding all of a sudden, okay, well, now it's the time to get the One Piece. He's making a
Wait,
strategic play, but like, what kind of strategic play?
well, despite him never getting on the island, he still might know how to get there because they got
Right, right,
there.
right, right, right.
So that might be his strategic advantage. He doesn't need the poneglyphs.
I mean,
So
I think most people kinda. Oh, I guess they don't know how to get it. They have to find out how to get it. Basically,
right.
they go on the Grand Line into the New World, and then they have to find out how to get to the One Piece.
But leaving Shanks for a moment, we go to the Navy HQ. Cobra has passed away.
Supposedly,
Well, I think
he might be actually dead, but
I think he did die because Oda has done this like once before where he makes a character super sickly, right? Super old and sickly. So that when it's their time to go, it's like, well, they were on their way out anyway. That was with Whitebeard. Whitebeard was shown to just be like so sick and like unhealthy, and like then when he passes at Marineford, he goes out in a really cool way, and everyone's like, he went out like, he was gonna go anyway. He went out really cool.
the counter argument though. I mean, finish your piece, but
Cobra looks like he aged like 20 years in 2 years. And he was super like sickly and weak when he showed up to the reverie. So
so the counter argument would be, sure, Whitebeard was a character, who you described, and then he died, but the big thing is that One Piece has never killed someone unless it was extremely explicit, like we saw them die. The thing people will point to all the time is Pell in Alabasta, who basically like got hit by a bomb in the air and he just didn't die, And there's been characters also before, like Sabo got destroyed in that flashback and he still didn't die. There's been a lot of cases of like, ooh, this person is supposedly quote unquote dead in One Piece, but then they're not actually dead.
I guess there is a world where Cobra is not dead. I just don't think it's ours. I think he might actually be dead. Yeah.
But beyond that, Sabo is kind of tearing it up. He's super. Everyone's like talking about Sabo. Even beyond that, supposedly, Vivi is missing? Question mark.
Mm-hmm.
But I think previously there was that the one guy with like the funny throne that was shown like during the previous Reverie arc. Yeah. He had like the picture of Vivi, and there was another thing where he was knifing pictures of other prominent characters. I have a feeling that her disappearance might actually be something else. What I'm picturing is that something happened to Cobra, maybe, and Sabo decided to go break out and save Vivi because of something that we don't know about.
Yeah, I think what happened to Cobra is he actually did die. And Vivi was rescued by Sabo and the Revolutionary Army. They got her out of there. That's what I'm predicting happens. But Sabo's now become an even more popular figure than Dragon, his boss. So
supposedly, yeah.
I guess, like, at least in the public eye,
yeah,
people are using him
like
as
the
like
big
a figure.
news, the big talk.
And Morgan chose to use his wanted poster, so it just makes him look like he's super smug about. They're saying that he killed Cobra, which is doubtful. I don't think there's a chance in hell
I
that
highly
happened.
doubt Sabo is the one who killed Cobra.
But if whatever they say, the headline is he killed Cobra, and they use that picture, so it just looks like he's smugging.
Yeah, they decided to make him look really cool for no reason.
And just like, I killed him. One Piece came back with a blast, and oh boy.
This is definitely the way that you kickstart the final saga.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you redefine the goal through Shanks and be like, yeah, the One Piece is getting got. And you're like, what? Finally. After how many years?
And all the admirals are shown off, even ones we have yet to see. Some vice admirals. People were not used to seeing almost at all.
The Navy's gearing up, the Revolutionary Army's in action. Characters that we knew to be prominent before are getting spotlight again. Ironically, the only people we haven't seen are the Straw Hats, but
I'm sure that'll be next week.
Oh yeah.
We'll get him back. We'll get him back. Aliens Area. I'm not gonna lie to you. I really like this chapter.
I thought it was pretty cool. I kind of wish that we got this earlier than we did, but
This
I'm
needed
glad
to
that
be
we got this.
before the princess. This needed to be before that dumb princess assassin arc. We
Yeah.
needed like 3 more chapters of stuff like this before we got to anything serious. Because, I don't know, we don't even know the characters yet. And this was a great chapter for that. I really liked the whole thing. It was small scale. The conflict was not ended in punch. That was like a part of the joke of this chapter. Was like, wait a second, our job is also just being diplomats to aliens too. And
Yeah,
then we get to see him going home to his family and cooking them dinner. That's so cute.
Yeah, I mean, I like the whole like characterization of the 2 guys that were trying to be observers for him when he was working in the rice paddy, because you find out like they're trying to like follow through with the whole like basically hazing process of like, hey, you're the new guy, this is what happened to us, we got to do it to you, but they're too nice. They're just too nice, so they can't do it, so they just end up helping him anyways. I thought that was pretty nice. It like gives them personality to them. It like makes for a little funny moment. And you know, I do like the idea that they're trying to get at, where the aliens are not all bad guys. What is going to come of this? Because if this is how the series more so started, getting the like assassin guy from the previous like mini arc would have been more cool, because maybe there would have been a scene where it's like, are you a bad guy or are you a good guy? Like, how do we determine, how do we judge? But now it's just kind of like, you know, but hopefully we get something later that makes us kind of question whether or not we need to determine, is this a good person or bad person? It's a little ambiguous.
This chapter definitely kind of gave me a little hope in this series, but we'll just have to wait and see if he capitalizes on what he built up here.
I definitely think the characters are not bad shells for what could be good characters. I just don't. I haven't been seeing it in the previous chapters. So, but this is like kind of what we've kind of needed a while ago. So it's good that it's finally here.
Kaiju number 8. This chapter felt really short. I think it was kind of short for a Kaiju number 8 chapter, but I really liked it.
Very nice to see Kafka like really come to terms with the situation he's in, and like, you know,
he basically just thinks that everyone is from his previous squadron is going to hate him because they didn't know when they found out he left that he's a part kaiju, or he can transform into one. And when he turns on his phone, he gets tons of text messages from people that are just like, hey, we're worried about you, come back alive. And he like feels terrible for doubting them. And at the end of the chapter, he cries, and he's training to get stronger, classic shonen stuff, but just really tender moment. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it was nice to see him have that sort of fear of everyone else's judgment, because he's kind of a monster, and he knows that he showed off his monster powers, which he was trying to hide for so long. And luckily for him in this situation, his actions are more defining of who he is than what he looked like and what he could do, right? And that's kind of the message here, is that they all saw him be a hero, and that's more important to them than looking like one of the enemy.
I really don't know what the end goal is here, except for like getting revenge. Like, there's no king of kaiju, there's no end goal, like we're gonna defeat this and the problems will go away. It's kind of just like, let's get revenge and then continue to do our job, you know? So
yeah, we kind of need to learn more about how not just the kaiju individually, but the kaiju as a collective. Like, do they have their own like society that they have? Like, is there a city of kaiju and they're just kind of chilling? Like, why do the kaiju have to be here? How did they appear in the first place, you know? I mean, presumably the goal is to get rid of all the kaiju and then have Kafka be the person that stands next to Mina or whatever. But like, at this point, I feel like the series has gone beyond that. I feel like at this point it's not about getting stronger so Hibino can be next to Mina, I feel like having friends and being accepted by everyone around him is kind of overtaken that, but I don't know. I mean, I definitely think that we need something to jumpstart a new arc for sure. Me and Roboco.
I turned the page. And I couldn't stop laughing this whole chapter. Just again, Roboco's jealous of someone else, Ruri Dragon this time, and is just copying her beat for beat. And I was like, the moment I saw the horns on her head, I was like, Gotcha Gorilla is getting fire breathed on him. And flip the page a few pages, and that's exactly what happens. But he's chill. He always takes battle damage. He's a tough guy.
Yeah.
So I just can't. I can't believe they keep doing this. It's fantastic.
I think there's like two things I want to say about this. First of all, I feel like Ruri Dragon first is a very short series so far. It's like 6 chapters in. I feel like if you're already getting a parody from me and Roboco, you're doing like extremely well. I feel like that is not 100%. It's like a little surprising, but I'm also not surprised because I do think Ruri Dragon is really, really good, but I'm just shocked that this can happen so early on, you know? It's almost like this is like a measurement for like how popular Ruri Dragon is. I mean, I also know that apparently Ruri Dragon has gotten like line stickers. And if you don't know what line is, it's like a very popular messaging app that people in Japan use, and like you can download custom packs that are like essentially like big emotes, you know. And apparently Ruri Dragon has its own set of emotes in line now, which that was also extremely fast. So I almost feel like a chapter like this is a testament to how explosive Ruri Dragon has kind of been in terms of popularity, which is impressive, but I mean, so far, I'd say it's pretty deserved. In terms of this being a me and Roboco chapter, I did like some of the jokes that they were making, where like the horns just keep on like getting bigger and changing, whatever. That was pretty funny.
Her fangs too, looking absolutely hideous.
Yeah, that was good too. It was just funny to like see, you know, it's almost, we haven't talked about the Ruri Dragon chapter yet, but it's very funny how everyone's like touching the Roboco horns, because that's also mirroring what happened in the Ruri Dragon chapter. But
exactly.
yeah, it almost makes you wonder, like, are they collaborating a little bit? Like, does the author of this like go and like ask questions to other Jump author, like, you know? But it was a very fun chapter, very nice to see. Yeah, I mean, it's not like particularly like out of this world, but I do think that it's kind of funny that they tied it into like Roboco's internal like emotional problems, and which is why she's trying to copy Ruri, which is like, I thought was pretty cute.
Undead Unluck, coming off the heels of last week with Billy.
Yeah, I think it was
big monologue.
It was mostly just, yeah, it was going in depth, kind of what I had already said about the chapter last week, where it's like, oh, you know, Billy's greatest weakness is the fact that Undead and Unluck refuse to hate him, which is basically what he's just getting at this time, right? But in the process of doing so, I think he also makes Unruin hate him, thus allowing Billy to get the Unruin ability and allowing him to heal his arm back, you know?
Yeah. It's stated to be a lesser version of Undead. But I mean, hey, that works. You know,
yeah. I mean,
that's good.
Part of it is I think he's just trying to tell him that, he's trying to feed him that so that Ruin feels bad, so that he gets him to hate him more. But yeah, I mean, because the undead power is like, oh, anything that would get me closer to death, like, it just won't happen, right? But like the unruin power is more so anything that would damage you just doesn't damage you, and so it like undoes damage. Which I guess is like technically a little different. So, but yeah, I mean, Billy basically gets his arm back. I'm not really sure how much this actually impacts the plot, because Fuko's just gonna ride the arc anyway, and they're gonna go back in time. But it's cool.
Yeah, I wonder if there's gonna be some way Like they'll have kind of like deja vu past memory nonsense. Where she can kind of like kick it off and maybe they'll remember. Because I think only one person can go on that arc, right?
Yeah, that's like what they keep saying. Is that it can only be one.
Andy's gonna have to re-meet her too. So I guess we'll just have to see how she handles like basically sounding like a crazy person to all those people and be like, I'm from the future.
Yeah, I mean, she technically met Billy in the past a different way.
Right.
And that turned out pretty alright, I think. So
yeah.
Maybe it'll end up being okay. It's just kind of Billy replanting us into a position where we understand like what the series is really supposed to be about. You know, it's all about Undead Unluck, and it's talking about how the characters kind of affected him as a person and what he realized, and so it's kind of just like resetting us, preparing us to like go in the arc, I guess, with a very firm like deliberate understanding of what the series is supposed to be about, which is like the relationship of like Andy and Fuko.
Dandadan, Godzilla.
Yeah, the big kaiju boy.
He's really small looking down on the ground, and then you flip a page and he's just as big as the building.
I mean, like, he's literally, I don't know how small, it kind of frames him a little small because like you see the ceiling and everything. But I was like, bro, this man is sitting on trees right now.
Well, he's still big, but my
huge.
question is, how did he fit in the hallway they were in? He definitely grew. Because that hole in the wall is not that size.
Okay, yeah, no. In the very, like, second panel, you can definitely see it. He definitely grows.
I've said it to you personally before, but this series does running away from monster really well, and I like it a lot.
It's pretty funny.
I love their like full sprint run that's just super perfect form, and everyone seems to know how to do it.
I think it's the funny, like, it's like they have the 90-degree angles like on their like limbs when they like are running.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's really comedic.
It cracks me up. But everyone's here. Everyone's running away. And they're all trying to stop this thing from just wreaking havoc, and doesn't seem to completely go smoothly.
Yeah, it kind of almost seemed random that Ira and Gigi were like just there.
Mm-hmm.
They just happened to be there, and then they see Momo like running in like ah, and then it's just like, oh, I guess everyone's here now.
At the end of the chapter, Ira just gets like slam jammed into a building, and they seem like they're worried about it, but I'm sure she'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, she's pretty strong, so.
Yeah. This is more like spectacle chapter than anything, and I like it. I like the spectacle. Mainly because it's drawn just so well. It looks beautiful.
Mm-hmm. The like one scene where it's like the group is there, like Momo's like getting ready to use her power, and like Okarun and Ira are just sliding in with like their like demon or spirit powers, Mm-hmm. I'm just like, oh, sick.
Sick.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're fighting this guy now. He's definitely part of something bigger, right? Like,
probably.
I mean, yeah, so I guess we'll find out. It was just like, oh my god, we have to deal with this now. This is I mean, scale-wise, it's literally larger than anything we fought before, I think, so.
Akane Banashi. I can't even remember what our bet was, but it's still going on.
It's about the result. Our bet was it was like whether or not, because we both think that the audience and Isho are going to have opposite reactions.
Yeah, but I can't remember what I said and what you said at this point. It's been a while.
I think you said the audience would love it.
Yeah,
and Isho would not like it, and I said I think
right.
Isho's gonna like it, and the audience is gonna be like, okay.
Well, the jury's still out on whether or not Isho will like it or not. However, the audience is clearly having a good time, Bobby. So, I mean, I won't take your money if he likes it too. I'm not
right. I mean, if we're both wrong, then we're both wrong. But...
Yeah, but I'm just saying, man, it's not looking good for your crisp dollar bill.
Dude, my George Washington is safe. Okay, they might think it's all right. But they're just enjoying themselves. They're not freaking out. At this point, I think it's possible that Akane might not even win. She might still just lose. Based on like the way that the audience is, because in the chapter they bring forth the difference between the performances that hype everyone up, get them super excited, and kind of what Akane's doing right now, which is being really relaxing, you know? And I thought it was really awesome that they tied that into what she was training for in the arc previously, where she has to match what the audience wants. And I feel like in that way, she is almost showcasing her skills even more than what the previous two were doing.
Mm-hmm.
So even if the audience doesn't necessarily think, oh, she's doing this in a way that's making our brains melt, you know, I think that as a quote unquote professional, this is the right approach that she has to take. And I feel like Isho is definitely gonna at least attempt to pick up on that, which
he's definitely gonna notice that for sure. I mean, if some of the lesser Rakugo performers that are a part of the audience see that, then there's no way he doesn't see that. But
yeah, it almost makes me wonder about the very first chapter again, as to why the father was expelled. And I almost want to say it's because in that initial performance, maybe it's because the father was focusing too much on performing for Akane and his wife rather than the audience, which is kind of showing like how much Akane has grown so quick, like has kind of grown over the years trying to practice, and that she's doing this for the audience and not for something a little more selfish.
Yeah, I thought that, I think the way this author is handling writing this series is very, very just thoughtful. You know, it's so simple, like when it's explained to you, you know, like what is going on, but it's almost like Akane's performance, where it's like, oh, I understand, like very relaxing, very, you're able to easily tell what's going on. And I think this author might be a genius.
It might be.
I'm reading this and I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, one thing in this series that's always been spectacular, but especially works like in this chapter also, is like the subtlety in the expression changes in the characters is so perfectly well done. And like it's not overly expressive like a lot of other series. You'll see like the super exaggerated like thick lines or whatever of characters like being like, oh, huh, or you know, but it's very subtle, but it's still extremely readable and detectable to like understand not only when Akane is playing different characters, but the kind of vibe that she's attempting to give off as she's doing her performance. And I think like that in its own right is like pretty incredible, that it's something so small and subtle. It doesn't like blare out into your face. It's just something that when you immerse yourself and you keep reading, you just kind of feel it, you know? And it's like it's genuinely very impressive. I think like of a lot of the newer series that this kind of came out around the same time as, I think this one is definitely like solidifying itself as like maybe the most solid one.
Spy Family. This chapter was nuts.
It was. At first, I was like, "Oh, this is like a nothing happens. It's just like cute fun." And then I was just like, "Wait, what?"
This is a Yor chapter. Yor typically doesn't get a lot to do, but I'm always excited to see because maybe she will get something to do. The boat arc is the most she's ever had to do, and it's not really, between us, it's not really seen as like the best arc. But I like it. But I remember you were saying that it wasn't too great when you were reading it.
Yeah, it was mostly like the weekly experience. The jokes were just not hitting for me as hard, and I was just kind of like, I don't really care about what's happening. There's too many moving parts. I just want to see like the family dynamic, you know, but they're intentionally like trying to not interact with each other that much, so
but Yor helps a woman from dropping all like of her supplies, cakes. All her cakes, all the things she purchased, and she wants Yor to join her volleyball team, her women's club, basically, that does a bunch of activities together for moms. And Yor's never played,
specifically
Yes.
Patriot moms.
Right. And yours never played volleyball, so she gets explained the rules. And she just absolutely goes nuts. And
But she subtly breaks all of the rules.
yeah, like, trying to make it a one-player game.
Yeah, she like
And-
pops it up for herself and then spikes it on her own, which you're not supposed to do in volleyball. You're supposed to have someone else spike it, but
and then
it's incredible
she gets told-
nonetheless. But
yeah, she gets told that, and she's like, so just only hit it once, and so she sprints in front of all of them and takes the shots from them, and it's just like, it's cool, it's very cool, but if she's trying to remain with a, like, normal facade, this is not the way to do it.
yeah, she just doesn't understand what is normal, because she's like, oh, so it's normal for like people to like play volleyball, and so she just assumes everyone's like incredibly good, and so she just lets loose.
She might be the dumbest character in this series, I think.
No, I think she might be. I mean, Anya is like a literal child, but like
I still think Anya might have her beat, dude.
she's like, so like Anya might be more ignorant, right? She just knows less. She understands less just because she just is a literal child. But I think you might be right. I think yours ability to process information and come to conclusions about things is maybe weaker.
It's basically in the negatives. But that's neither here nor there. Despite her showing, they lose, and she apologizes.
She doesn't really know the rules, so
right. She apologizes. They're having tea, and they actually want her to stick around. They like her, which is great. It's a kind of a nice scene. And they find out that, I have a kid in the Eden College. And she's like,
Academy.
I do too. And, what year? Oh, she's in the first grade. Oh, my kid's in the first grade too. And, Forger. That's crazy. My son, my son's Damien. It's Melinda Desmond. And I'm like, oh no.
yeah, see, because, okay, this is like a massive reveal. Because this is kind of setting up a situation in which if Yor is getting cozy with the Desmonds, who technically, she doesn't work for them, she works for, like, her organization, but that organization is under the government that the Desmonds are very, like, important and high-ranking in.
Right.
And so basically, this is almost like you're hanging out with the wife of her boss in a way. And so, but the boss is obviously the target of Lloyd.
Right. But he's not trying to kill him. That's not what Lloyd really does generally. He's just kind of an information guy, blackmail type. So I imagine Lloyd's not going up there shooting him in the head, because if it was that simple, Lloyd would just go and shoot him in the head.
Oh yeah, it'd be done already.
Yeah, so
he's trying to like get information or something from him.
Yeah.
I'd imagine. Yeah.
Can you imagine what's gonna happen when Yor goes home and says, "Yeah, no, I made friends with Anya's classmate's mom." Lloyd's gonna be like, he's gonna be like, yes.
Because you know, Lloyd, as loving as as like a father as he can be for Anya, he's still about the mission. And if he can find a way in that is not Anya's unreliable chaos ass, then I think he might try to take it.
Oh, I think he's gonna be so happy. The thing I wanted to comment though on this chapter is Yor leaves to go get like cakes for Anya, right?
Right.
Yor presumably leaves the house with Anya being left alone. And then she goes, and instead of coming back, presumably, I assume, after reading it, I'm assuming there was like a time jump or something.
That's what I would have assumed also.
Because if not, she left the house to get Anya food, and then just went and played volleyball and had tea. Just didn't come back.
That would be funny if that's how that happened.
In which case, Anya, she might be a bad mom. But I was just like, don't you got to go home? What about your child? But I assume there's a time jump that we're just not really privy to. But I was expecting like the final panel, just Anya like sitting by the door, like waiting. But that never happened. So I guess there must have been some sort of time jump. I just thought it was funny. The thought in my head was funny.
I do want to bring up, I think that the reveal at the end also, it kind of re-solidifies the fact that Yor and Lloyd are technically on opposing sides of like the political conflict that's supposed to be happening. And so I kind of wonder, like, will Yor kind of be in a position where she's interacting with Melinda Desmond more, they get closer, and is there a point where Melinda like finds out that Yor is supposed to be an assassin? Because she does work for like the shadow government that of the political party that is running like that regime, right? And so like they're basically like on the same side, and Lloyd is on the opposite side. So I feel like this relationship might be the thing that really sets up like maybe like some sort of interaction of a Lloyd versus Yor type of thing.
I can picture in my head, and I have for a bit, Yor getting hired to take out Twilight, not knowing who Twilight is or anything. And they like get intel of his mission, like he's doing something, and he's in disguise because she can't find out that it's Lloyd. But she doesn't wear a disguise. So she'll show up in her Thorn Princess outfit, and Lloyd will be in disguise, and she'll be trying to kill him, and then he'll learn that Yor is an assassin. I think that's how it'll go. And that'll... I think this is what you're saying, how she might find out and then want to hire her. That would be crazy. That'd be insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's just very interesting because Yor is a person who typically has no real stake in the actual politics. She just, like, she's been doing this since she was young because she needed the money, right? This is just, like, what she knows. This is how she, like, makes her living, and then she's just never stopped because it's just what she's always done. But this is, like, a reason for her to kind of be involved a little bit more than she normally is, because she's a little detached, I think, from her actual job, like a little bit. But this is definitely a big relationship in the making that really affects the politics, which we don't get too much highlight on all the time.
My Hero Academia, I guess, in the words of Bakugo, in a way Bakugo would say it, a bunch of B-listers really just stepping into center frame right now. Lemillion, as cool as him and his two other friends are, do like them as characters. They're getting like what I guess is their final moment to shine in the series, and I just feel like it's at the cost of Bakugo looking kind of lame.
Yeah, I mean, literally, they're here. They even know that their goal here is to not win. They're not expecting to win. They're just buying time.
They're buying time. It's neat. It's fine. But Genis, what I like is the very end of the chapter when Genis is trying to console Bakugo. He thinks that he's defeated and sad, but Bakugo is just planning. He's watching and planning like his moves, kind of observing. And Genis takes a whoa, this kid's cool kind of approach. That's nice. But
yeah, that like final page of Bakugo like having such immense focus in his eyes. He even is crying, like there's tears like and sweat and everything dripping like everywhere, but he still has the little cluster sparks. He's still got that fire left in him. He's still ready to like do something, which is cool. I'm guessing this is gonna be the real like final moment, because we were talking about last time how like, oh man, Bakugo is like basically just getting jobbed out. But if that's gonna be how it goes, at least he's getting a huge build up to like a bigger moment.
Super smartphone. This chapter was awesome. I love this chapter.
It was a really good one. I liked it a lot too.
Mora is now good pals with Pseudonym.
He kind of trusts him now. He's just kind of like, oh, you're pretty smart, huh?
And he gives Hugh his phone, his super phone, And that, he's surprised, but I guess he just has complete faith in Q after just meeting him. He can already tell he's a good guy. I'm like, that's kind of nice. And so they're trying to save themselves, and Mora starts fighting him because I guess he's a black belt in karate, and he is kicking their asses. And Q actually notices that he's taking them out. He's doing great, but there are multiple enemies, and one of them tries to go for Mora's back, and Q defends him with a nightstick. And it just shows that, despite him not being able to fight at all, he'll throw himself in danger for people that he thinks are good. And they devise a plan to get rid of them because they're still coming. And so they use Mora's superphone to contact news stations and say that the high-rise collaborators are here and they're attacking. And everyone starts calling the cops. They wake up, start calling the cops, and it works out. But at the very end, as Mora and Q are running away, it looks like Mora's superphone is like disappearing, sort of, like swirling away. And because the robbers are figuring out that the phone has an ability, and I think that's the rule, is you can't reveal it.
Mm-hmm.
So does Mora lose his superphone? I don't know.
He might, yeah. I mean, there's also that there was another restriction that we learned about the super phones, where it was like it can only send a message to X number of people, 648 people at a single time, which is kind of a random number. I'm not really sure, because normally in technological stuff, it's always powers of 2. Stuff that are one off of a power of 2 is where limits get set. 256 is a power of 2, so usually 255 is some limit or something. Because it doesn't count 0. Computers count 0 as the first number, so blah 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 blah. I'm not gonna talk about that more, but yeah, it's just a strange limitation you might not expect from something that is pretty omniscient. But we also learned that the superphone can't really detect that, it can't pin down who these people are because they're not wearing anything that would identify themselves.
They don't have a phone on them or a wallet on them.
Yeah, very interesting. So I mean, we're learning that maybe they're not so omniscient after all, but clearly, some interesting limitations that are continue to kind of be a part of our understanding of what the phones are. But yeah, really cool chapter. I like how the one part where Mora wraps up his arm so he doesn't actually hurt people, because he's still just a nice guy. He just has terrible luck with other people normally. So
I like how they're oh, he's trying to distract them with the arm so he can kick them, but he actually is just punching with it because he doesn't want to hurt people. And that's funny.
Yeah, it was really funny how Mora continues to just kind of take people's ability to think through things too much and just deny them by just being as straightforward as he can.
I like him a lot. I think he's a great character. I hope we get to see a lot more of him.
Yeah, he's very refreshing in this series where everyone thinks about stuff way too hard. He's just there being a straight shot.
Doron Dororon.
The guys are trying to fight. The one guy who sleeps a lot, he was actually well rested, so now I guess he's he's OP now. That's just what he does. And we see some fighting. The two girls, they do some explosion thing. I'll be honest, it it didn't flow that well to me. I hardly even understood what was going on. It was just the guy was talking, and suddenly it's just oh, they're doing this combo attack. I didn't even realize it was a combo attack until 3 panels later, and I was just wait, what? I had to reread, and I was there's no indication, but I guess that's what happened. Yeah, the guy who doesn't sleep a lot, he's about to fight and gear up, but then Ginchio comes back. I thought that she was supposed to be a main character, but she's been absent for 10 chapters, 20 chapters.
20. I think the last chapter she was in was 11.
20 chapters she's been gone. So I guess she's here now. I don't know. We find out her backstory, why she wants to get promoted. It's because she wants to fire this guy because she likes him or whatever. Like she like looks up to him a lot, and she like feels bad that he kind of got pressured into being a samurai because he's so talented at it. And she's like, that's not right. Blah blah blah. So I mean, yeah. She showed up. It was funny. We like got a comment last week about how Lemon from Mashle is gonna be more relevant than Ginshio. But I guess the authors, they saw your comment, bro. They had to go against what you were saying. They had to prove you wrong.
I literally, there's no chance this lasts another 10 chapters. This manga is like barely holding on. It's just trying to rush to any kind of finale it can get to.
Yeah, I mean, they had like the whole setup of, ooh, these are like the 4 guys, and then it's just they reveal them all at once, and they're like, oh, now we're fighting all 4 of the guys immediately. And so it's just kind of like, you know, the final panel, they're all like gearing up for their big fights. And it's like, okay.
Dora's nowhere to be found, so presumably someone's gonna die or so they're gonna lose in some way, and he's gonna save the day.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think this series, like, for all intents and purposes, this is not like the worst chapter of Doron Dororon, but the setup that has led up to this has just been so weak that I can't like be bothered to really care.
It really takes the wind out of the sails for sure.
Yeah, it like, it's kind of cool that the one guy with the glasses, he like gets really pissed off that, you know, the skeleton guy was like basically bragging like, oh, that one samurai that I like, that like we killed off, like, oh man, he tasted so good or whatever. I was like, okay, that was kind of cool, but like, this is a moment that should have been way more impactful had the series had more time to develop those characters in the first place. So, but I mean, here we are. We're just, I feel like it's just kind of like coasting to the end as well as it can, which I respect the author for continuing to put an effort where you can, I guess. But
yeah, the art's fine. The story is unfortunately even more rushed than My Hero. Blue Box. This chapter felt like almost nothing till like the very last like 2 pages. It was just his date with Chinatsu, and it was cutesy, whatever.
They like can't hear each other over the music; it's too loud.
Then they go their separate ways. She won't tell him what she was saying, which was presumably because I like you, whatever. And then I knew this would happen. I don't know if I called it, but in my brain I did. My heart and my soul, I called it. The person who's going to play Romeo in Romeo Juliet called out, and now he's going to be the only one who can do it. But that means he's going to have to kiss Hina.
Whoa!
No way! Literally been done in everything ever. I don't know.
Yeah, it was an incredibly predictable setup. What is there even to say, really? Like, I don't know. I mean, the one guy, there's that fortune teller guy in between those 2 sections of the chapter who was basically like, hey, something awful is gonna happen to you, bro. And then they show the crowd of people of all the fortunes that he got correct. So I guess that's like supposed to like establish like credibility to this guy. And so something really bad is gonna happen to Taichi, but I don't know.
A tremendous ordeal, not bad. Just a tremendous ordeal.
Right. Like something very difficult's gonna happen. So
which kissing her is probably going to be difficult for him. So
yeah, who knows? Chinatsu's gonna be watching, you know? Like,
no.
Oh no.
Just, I don't know. Every trope in the book is it feels like comes out of this most recent arc, and it's fine. But it's just very funny because I'm like, oh, this is going to happen next, and it happens. All right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, It was a setup chapter, but the setup was so obvious. It's not really exciting, but you know, the art I think definitely was beautiful. Like during the date, like we got a lot of like close up shots that were really cute. I like those, but I mean, in terms of what was actually happening, like what my brain was processing, I was just kind of like, So
Mashle.
Lemon is confirmed to not be able to do anything.
She's still useless.
Yep.
So
she shows up like, I'm gonna save the day, does nothing. Who would have imagined, right? But
who would have guessed? But that's not the only thing that happens in this chapter. They're fighting dude bros now.
And putting like cultists, I guess. I do appreciate that they're making these fights a lot more comedic than what we were getting previously. I had more fun with what we're getting right now than what we were just getting with the other Innocent Zero guys fighting the other people.
I completely agree. I do literally said big chillin' in this chapter.
Yeah.
So
instant, like big chillin', instant 10 out of 10.
Big chillin' and other like phrases that are
just like zoomerisms and like
are just now they're making their way into the manga we read, and it kind of feels like not real. I feel like it's probably translation based. It's probably not what was actually written, but it's very, very funny to see just stuff that I hear almost on a daily basis be thrown into this stuff.
I think the translation though is doing a perfect job, because I mean, the dude literally is whipping out a hookah.
Yeah,
like I think this is like probably the best way to translate it. Even if it doesn't age well in like 30, 40, 50 years, I think like for what it's doing as a product of its time, the translation is like basically perfect. Because like someone else like of modern day reading what they're reading, it's just like, yeah, this is what you would hear basically like right now.
But the chapter ends with the dude bro getting his head cut off with a sword, pretty much, or cut in half with a sword. Turns out he can regenerate. Whoa.
Yep. I guess if you want to get into actual serious talk about character development or whatever, the big brother shoves the little brother aside and is like, you can't do anything right now. But obviously, the little brother's gonna prove himself more worthy during this fight somehow.
Being support in some way, or maybe even doing the final blow. I don't know.
Yeah, I will say the dude bro guy having this regeneration power, definitely perfect for the type of character he is, Frat boys known for being extremely reckless, very YOLO type of people. One criticism of YOLO, you only live once, is that, well, what if you die doing what you're doing? But he can regenerate, so he can drink all he wants, he can smoke all he wants, he can, like, be reckless and dangerous, and it doesn't matter. He has the perfect power, and I really think that the Mashle author did a great job embodying the type of character he is through his power. By the quote of the manga itself, my analysis right there was about as shallow as a puddle.
I think that this character existing in contrast to the super duper serious big brother character that he's fighting is also very funny, because he's just such a jerk. But the other guy's a jerk in a different way. So it's like two assholes just colliding.
Yeah.
But, I'm also glad that it's being more comedic, but I just want MASH to get up already. I know we've been saying that for a while now, but it really is a long time for MASH to just be laying on the ground at the beginning and end of chapters.
I almost wonder, like, because that guy with, like, the Cerberus, like, showed up into the room that they were in. I feel like they're just gonna accidentally they're too weak. The little goblin and Lemon, like, they're too weak to turn the key. But you know who's not too weak? Probably this guy, and probably his Cerberus.
Yep.
So I wonder if they're gonna accidentally turn his key somehow through some just nonsense Mashle whatever, but that would be pretty funny.
Well, it's time for the second Ruri Dragon chapter this week. This week, we got Ruri basically being super duper big-headed about, oh, I'm different, I'm cool, I'm quirky. And, it kind of goes to her head a bit, and she lets a bunch of guys and other people in her class touch her horns, which her friend points out might be a little too much. Like, you're going a little too far. And, I think she's letting the attention go to her head, basically almost identically to the Me and Roboco chapter. Very funny. But she goes and eats lunch with her friends, and another girl brings one of her other friends with her, and her other friend was like, I don't know about Ruri. She's kind of scary. It's like, dang, that's kind of sad. But she takes it in stride. She's going fine. And I guess they're planning on going out and doing dragon research. But the chapter ends with all their hair looking a bit frizzy. And it turns out that she's developing a new dragon power, which is electrostatic discharge.
Very, very. Yeah, I mean,
She's going to electrocute her entire class.
hopefully she just runs outside or something and fixes this. Hopefully someone has, like, I don't know, maybe someone could, like, take their, like, aluminum pencil case or something, chuck it at her, and it just fixes the problem.
Hopefully, but how many times is she going to almost kill her classmates before they're like, yeah, you can't be here anymore?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely bring a lot of attention to that. You were talking about how, like, she's kind of getting a big head about it. Like, the fact that, oh, I can make friends. Like, it's not that hard to, like, show off or whatever. But it's, like, they are bringing a lot of attention to the fact that, like, she is different, And so I kind of wonder, like, how far is this going to go? I mean, it kind of feels like we're doing something that's, like, kind of the same as, like, before. But I guess, like, it's still very early, so it's not like it's, like, gotten old or anything, per se. But, I mean, it's cool to see Ruri kind of, like, develop, I guess, as a character. Because she's definitely already pretty different than where she was, like, chapter 1,
5 chapters ago.
Right, exactly. And so that's pretty cool to see, like, the progression kind of, like, be a little, like, faster in this series, I think, because it's not like it's unearned. I think the previous 2 chapters of her hanging out with friends and stuff having an impact on her is, like, more than reasonable enough.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really cool that we're getting, like, very, like, brisk and, like, meaningful chapters every time it comes out.
I'm excited to see her murder her classmates in the next chapter. That's definitely what's going to happen.
We will have to be waiting a while, though, because the author is apparently not feeling too good. So they're going to be taking off next week, which we had to wait an extra week for this chapter, too. So
yeah. And that's fine. They can take as much time as they need.
Yep.
Health comes before our entertainment. So
yeah, definitely our hopes and wishes for the author to have a lot better time physically trying to keep this series up, because it would be a shame if it had to, like, get canceled because their health is, there's been several series that have had to go into limbo because of an author not being able to keep up with the schedule, or, like, their health turns, like, very poorly. So it would be a shame because the series is incredibly popular, and by our standards, it's also very, very good. So
yeah, I didn't start off being too great for me, but I've come to love it, and I just think that they should take their time and tell the story exactly how they want. Thank you for joining us for another episode. Please like and subscribe. Leave us a comment. We will reply. And we'll see you next week when we cover the exact same stuff, but more. Have a nice one, guys.